and how you can, and really being in unsettled positions, and to want to curse yourself from both sides. I don't want to be like this, and then embracing it, and I told myself, it's okay. Stomachache, it's okay. And that's something we try to do, I think, in the courses, and that's the space you need. You need to be able to feel guilty, because there's a lot of guilt, especially middle-class white men, when working, but you can't stay, and that's not supposed to be the story. You need to make a more complex story, and that's a big challenge. So what we thought to do today is to pass around the curriculum of the courses we do. I'll say who does what. It's in English and Hebrew, so the Hebrew pass the English and the English pass the Hebrew. And to try to show you how the structure of the curriculum tries to do some things about teaching PAP. The course was first created by Professor Yuval in the BSW course here in Ben-Gurion. And since then, today, it's a course that is, you heard about, it's implemented in a lot of frameworks by a lot of people that are here as well. Shachar, Reinat, Nur and I did this course last year in the BSW. And it takes place in all kinds of places, in various experience levels and rank of the students and a number of meetings. But the structure that I will try to present today stays, there's a lot of space to move in it, but the structure goes with us, I think. So I'll do it quickly, you have it in front of you, but I will show, I divided it to 3 phases of the course. So the first phase is the introduction and the theoretical base. How to do the introduction, I think Michal presented how she does it. We do have the exercise that we try to do in every opening session, in every place, because it has to start within, and all, people need to look inside, and we need to share us looking inside in order to see that poverty is not only something that's outside of us. Like we are part of society, and it's a societal phenomenon. We need to look at ourselves in it. And then we ask, what is poverty, how is it measured, and we try to give a lot of data that will start to give a wider look at poverty and what it is, and to start asking questions, what is it? Because we all have different definitions. And then we teach the 3 poverty paradigms. I won't talk about them too much. You can see in the syllabus what we give the students to read, but it's the conservative paradigm, structural, and then we give PAP the rest of the course. And that's the second phase. We dive into the paradigm. We give another exercise before this part starts, and we give the students, they're guided to go to a place that represents poverty for them and to observe it for half an hour. And then in the assignment, they need to do describe the observation and to reflect on it. When the question we ask them to think about is what connects to poverty and what doesn't connect, and it makes them think and othering and how they're sitting there, who are they and who are they looking at, and it invites to an inner dialogue. We talk about politics of representations, othering, microaggressions, stigmatization, poverty and exclusion. BA. Yeah, it's the BA curriculum. And agency and resistance, of course. In some of the courses, and we talked about it here, we tried to bring service user participants in this phase, and we talked about the complexity. I won't say it again, but we tried to do it in part of the course. At the end of the course, we try to conceptualize practice, but because, like everyone said, students need to have the feeling that they go out with something they can do in reality and not only with a theoretical base. And we try to conceptualize the practical manifestations of the paradigm, and that need words, because there are things that we had a debate yesterday in the car if we should call it therapy or not call it therapy, it's treatment. But students need words to do what they do, all of us, not students. So we try to give things words, and we talk about relation. I added the S after Anna's presentation yesterday. It's relationships-based practice, not only between individuals, but within society. Like I talked about intervention in real life context, active advocacy, and policy practice. That's the main tenets of practice that we talk about. And this Michal's point, we try to do a process of deconstruction and reconstruction. The deconstruction is of the conservative paradigm that we all come with. And then when you understand that that's the guilt I talked about earlier, 2 minutes ago. It's how you translate titles to real life numbers. That's what Michal talked about. We talked, what is the poverty line? Students don't know. I didn't know before I started learning. You see the numbers, you understand where you are as opposed to them, and you can imagine maybe how it is or where you are situated in front of that. What's income support? Can you live from income support? The numbers that we don't want to know a lot of times. We present the data that highlights the structural nature of poverty, and starting to question the neoliberal notion that those who try enough succeed, and we try to question Oscar Lewis. I always think what Oscar Lewis, aren't we othering Oscar Lewis in some way? What would he have thought if he heard us? But we do a lot of work around him and around the culture of poverty and contesting it. The second, so after you deconstruct this, Jan taught us, you need to reconstruct. You can't stay deconstructed. You can, but it's not fun. So you need to provide a new alternative conceptual framework that people can use, not only stay in the part that nothing works and we're quite, never mind, forget the word. You need to give people structural options for fighting poverty and to point to policy. I think this is a part we're struggling. It's hard to understand how you teach PAPE, and you talk a lot about interpersonal and how you take it to the policy level, where we talked about it in the first day it's happening. Start blaming the system instead of blaming the poor. You can be angry, and we talk about moral rage. It's not, I don't remember who talks about it, but Anna, you wrote something about it, no?
I mentioned it.
You mentioned
who does it in
someone does moral outrage, but you can get mad. I think it's important.
Linda Briskman, and Charlotte Williams, I think.
So you need to get angry, and it's okay to be angry, and that's where we take our anger. That's the question. How we open our ears. We talk about giving voice, but how do we learn to listen, and how can we hold the things we hear and don't fuck it off?
It's going to be a new point.
Too much, huh? I'm like, it's okay, it's not okay. Okay, we need to...
Next YouTube or
Providing professional concept for the life experiences of people in poverty. I think it's very, very important that students will have words to understand what other people... It's empathy in some way. You can be empathic if you understand and conceptualize what people that are not you or you don't feel in everyday life, like othering, microaggressions, exclusion, and resistance. What I say you feel, I'm talking as me, not everyone from where he comes. And providing professional concepts for the role of social workers. Okay, we're taught that we're supposed to help people. It's again a debate we had yesterday with Rudy, but are we supposed to change reality? So what are we doing here? And I think that standing by, solidarity, and joining resistance are good words to understand that you can be in an individual level and do political action, and do actions that are under the values of social work and critical practices. The next thing that Michal also said, that the paradigm as an analytical tool, what I can say about it, maybe that we'll add, is that the important thing is the questions, it's not the answers. It's hard sometimes to hear the answers that students or social workers, but you need to have space for the questions, and then if people feel free enough to say their answers, then you can start doing with it something. But you need to ask the questions, and I think you talked about skills. So the analytical tool can be a skill, maybe, in Families First, how do you call it? Families First, we did a day about skills, and the skill was changing the lens, let's say. So how do you make out of it a skill? I need something in practice. What created this specific reality? How can I learn about it? What is my role in relation to it? It can be a skill. You need to practice it a lot. And the last thing is, it has to go from theory and practice and back. It has to go all the time. You can't teach theory if you don't give practice and you don't give how the theory manifests itself in reality, and you can't talk about practice without giving reasons for why you do what you do. All the time you need to hold the mutual relationship between both of them. And the last phase of the curriculum, the idea is to conceptualize it through theory. So when you go to the home of service users, you do it with a theoretical foundation. You don't just go, because then you can maybe be regulating and doing what house visits are a lot of time. But if you change the lens and you have a theoretical, you say it's an act of standing by to go to the home, it's a social act maybe, because I'm going and we are challenging the power relations, it looks different, okay, and you act different in reality. The last thing is the method. I think all of you talked about it a lot. I won't say too much about it, but it has to be dialogical. And in order to be dialogical, you need to be vulnerable. It's not always easy, but you should let yourself do that. Examples, analysis. You have, all the time you have to hold, that's why you need dialogue, because we're trying to do it now. Shachar has like 60 people he's going to teach next week? Tomorrow. How do you do dialogue with 60 people? We don't have the answer yet.
No.
Michal
Tomorrow is 16. 2 weeks from now it's 80.
80. So it's nice to talk about dialogue, but what can you really do? We feel that Michal knows how to do it.
Michal knows.
But yeah, it's hard. And sometimes it's a lot of shouting.
Why?
I don't know if someone was here. I was in Bnei Brak, Shirley, yesterday, and I gave like for 80 people, and I tried to be dialogical, and one of the inspectors from the welfare told me, no, it's very, very messy. They didn't hear anything. So it's complicated. I thought it was good. They're getting angry, so something happening. And you need a safe space for reflection. I think that's really important. And what you talk about group thinking, that made me think there about how much we could have, here. And you need to feel fine to say things that you know that are going to be problematic. And I think the critical paradigm PEP can, I'll say memashter. Can be a form of discipline.
Can be a dogma.
Can be a dogma, yeah. And students, we have this back and forth, what you can say and what you can't say. So we tell them you can say whatever you want. And sometimes it's not, I'm telling sometimes you don't want people to say whatever they want. Because they say, okay, but we try. The two exercises, I think, aim to evoke reflection and critical reflection. I think last year when we brought the family, it was very good for the students because they told us they look really normal, you remember? So we could reflect how they imagined they would look like, and told them, what did you think they're going to become? What did you imagine? So, but that's like feeling gathering maybe, and you can do dialogue about it. And the last space or thing I have to say that you need to express feelings. Michal talked about poverty is feelings. It's hard feeling. And it's okay to cry and to shout and you need to be ready for that. Sometimes it's really, really inconvenient and you feel like you're doing something completely wrong, but at the end, it's easy to say. Sometimes at the end it's okay. Thank you.